Hare Krishna, everyone, and welcome back once again to our ongoing series in the glories of our most beloved Sri Vrindavan Dham. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Bande Shri Gurudevam Tam Karuna Varuna Lalyam Yad Kripa Lava Lesena Paramopi Yarama Yate. I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, who is an ocean of compassion. Just a fraction of his mercy is enough to liberate even the most fallen person. Even the most fallen person. Source unknown. So we're continuing with our mini-series today on Stimulation for Ecstatic Love, and this will be part 92. The other day, one devotee asked me how the figure 90, in previous class, properly represents a mini-series. I replied, well, in the beginning, we thought we would only be able to discuss the actual items listed in Chapter 26 of Nectar Devotion, which act as stimuli for awakening ecstatic love for Krishna. But the list kept getting bigger and bigger. And upon rereading Srila Prabhupada's introduction to that chapter, I realized that the list he gave was really only a summary of such items. For he writes, he begins, some things which give impetus or stimulation to ecstatic love of Krishna are his transcendental qualities, his uncommon activities, his smiling features, his apparel, garlands, his flute, etc., etc. So he said some of the things. So in our research, we found other items to discuss. With the onset of COVID 3 or 4 years ago, we have given close to 400 lectures altogether. So 90 lectures could possibly be considered a mini-series, and now 92. And of course, all the lectures are on the website vrindavanglories.com. vrindavanglories.com. One word, Vrindavan Glories. So, with great pleasure, today we'll continue discussing the glories of Srimati Tulasi Devi. So far, we have discussed numerous details about her, including her name, fame, form, personality, as well as the many benefits of worshipping her. Just this morning, I came across one such amazing benefit, which is mentioned in Hari Bhakti Vilas 9:167. It's actually quoting Brihan Naradiya Purana. And the verse reads, now listen as I describe the piety of a person who makes a fence out of wood, thorns, bushes, or any suitable material for enclosing Srimati Tulsi Devi. O king, for as many days as that fence remains, the person who built it will reside in Brahmaloka, along with 3 generations of his family. A person who builds a protective wall around Tulsi Devi will attain the liberation of having the same bodily features as that of Lord Vishnu, along with 3 generations of his family. Actually, most important, the scriptures are full of pastimes that reveal the potency of Tulsi Devi in awakening loving devotion for the Lord within our hearts, bhakti. For example, our main scripture, the Srimad Bhagavatam, talks about the pastime of the 4 Kumaras, the sons of Lord Brahma, who were very much attached to the impersonal aspects of Godhead. But when they met the Lord at the gates of Vaikuntha, they became pure devotees of Krishna simply by smelling the fragrance of Tulsi leaves that were on the lotus feet of the Lord. The exact verse is Srimad Bhagavatam 3:15-43. It says, when the breeze carrying the aroma of Tulsi leaves from the toes of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead entered the nostrils of those sages, they experienced a change both in body and in mind, even though they were attached to the impersonal Brahman understanding. Now, in the purport, Prabhupada goes a little deeper. He writes, it appears from this verse that the four Kumaras were impersonalists or protagonists of the philosophy of monism, becoming one with the Lord, but because of the fragrance of his lotus feet, carried by the air and mixed with the aroma of Tulsi, their minds changed. And instead of becoming one with the Supreme Lord, they thought it wise to be devotees. Then Prabhupada concludes, being a servitor of the lotus feet of the Lord is better than becoming one with the Lord. Hare Krishna. Now in Chaitanya Lila, Srila Advaitacharya was very much disturbed to see the spread of irreligion in Navadvip, Bengal. So we know this pastime. He decided to call for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, asking him to descend into this world. And how did he do it? He worshipped the Lord with Tulsi leaves and the water of the Ganges. And pleased by his devotion, Krishna descended as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Also in Chaitanya Lila, the great devotee Haridas Thakur delivered a prostitute who had come to him with the intention of seducing him with instructions to chant the holy names and worship Tulsi. And she became so elevated by this service that even great Vaishnavas would come to get her mercy, actually. So now I would like to recite a prayer dedicated to Tulsi by the poet Govinda Swami. He was one of the famous poets in the line of Vallabhacharya. He wrote very beautifully. I bow down to the goddess Tulsi, who resides in the vines and branches of Braj. She dances with the wind and sings with the flowing Jamuna. The red bangles on her white wrists attract Cupid. Her blouse is embroidered with fresh rose petals, and her sari is made with intertwined fresh leaves of Vrindavan. She walks with the gliding movement of a snake, which attracts Vana Devis, or forest goddesses of Braj. She empowers the devotees of Giridhari. Govinda Das begs for her mercy with folded hands. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Govinda Swami. So, in our first lecture, we discussed in detail how Tulsi Devi cursed Lord Vishnu, remember it's a pastime, to become a stone, and the subsequent benedictions the Lord gave her, which eventually resulted in the famous marriage of Tulsi and Shalagram Shila, which we'll discuss a little later on in this lecture. The benedictions were, in part, he said to her, my dear one, you will be the presiding deity of the Tulsi plant here on earth, and at the same time, you will always sport with Krishna in solitude in Goloka. This is Vishnu speaking. O chaste goddess, you will always remain personally by my side and enjoy my company as Lakshmi does. Now, the Hari Bhakti Vilas 7277, quoting Narada Muni in the Kartik Mahatmya section of Padma Purana, Uttarakanda, also touches on the marriage of Tulasi and Krishna, Krishna in the form of Shalagram Shila. It says, Pativrata yena vrindashu harim araja karmana purva janman isho labde Krishna samyogam atmamam. Setting an ideal example of chastity, Srimati Vrindadevi had worshipped Lord Hari in her previous life, and thereby attained this most glorious position, union with the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Now the Hari Bhakti Vilas also states, actually quoting the Brahma Vaivarta Purana, that it also mentions the marriage of Vrinda Devi or Tulsi, because they're the same personality, and Lord Hari. Therein it says, from Durvasa Muni, she, Vrinda Devi, received a rare mantra consisting of Lord Krishna's names. So have we. Renouncing everything, she left home and went to the forest to perform austerities. For 60,000 years, she performed those austerities in a secluded place. Then handsome, smiling Lord Krishna, who dearly loves his devotees, appeared before her and said, please ask me for a boon. She at once asked, please be my husband. And he replied, so be it. So we have some references there about this auspicious marriage. So their marriage is actually celebrated in Vrindavan on the 11th night of the bright moon each year of the sacred month of Kartik. It's actually on our ISKCON Vaishnav calendar every year as well. And officially this marriage is called Tulasi Shaligram Vivaha. And it happens on the Deva Uttapana Ekadasi in Kartik, which is actually celebrated as the day when Lord Vishnu wakes up after his 4-month-long yoga nidra sleep in the milk ocean. I thought that was interesting. It is said that as he yawns upon waking up, all the demigods offer him lotus flowers and prayers. Now in Vrindavan, all the temples celebrate, including our ISKCON temple, this marriage ceremony of Tulasi Shaligram in a big way. Now, the poet named Hita Paramananda Das, one of the principal poets in the Vallabha Sampradaya, he describes in an even more detailed, elaborate, and very beautiful manner, and with a slight variation, how Tulsi and Krishna met and they got married. We just gave some hors d'oeuvre, means a little something before the meal to get your appetite going. So here's a very beautiful description of the marriage of Tulsi Devi and Krishna in the form of Shaligram Shila. It's actually my favorite version. So he's writing about the personified form of Tulsi Devi as a gopi, as well as Shaligram Shila personified, meaning Krishna, because that's how the marriage took place. And he begins, as we were hearing earlier, describing the austerities that Tulsi Devi performed. It was mentioned Vrinda Devi earlier, but again, it's the same personality. And actually it was Tulsi, it was Vrinda in her form of Tulsi who performed these austerities. And we heard how she performed them for 60,000 years. So he begins with that particular part of the pastime. He writes, "O dear brother, listen to the story of the glorious wedding of Tulsi with Krishna. When all the gopis reached the dense forest of Vrinda Devi, where the vines and flowers bound Tulasi's sacred body to protect her from the 6 harsh weather conditions, they saw her body had become as strong as the mountain Meru." She's doing these austerities. Her eyes looked like the 12 suns. Her body was glowing like the shadow of the moon in the ocean of night. The shadow of the moon in the ocean of night. Having spent ages in her tapasya, she was now as sacred as a teardrop of Mother Ganges. All the gopis clapped and said, "Dear Tulsi, you are glorious. Your tapasya has made Govinda love you without limit. He is searching for you now in all the forest of Vrindavan. So please leave your meditation, for your waist has become as thin as the stem of a tamarind tree, and through your skin your bones are now visible. Do not put yourself through any more suffering. Rather, please rise to marry Lord Govinda. Look, look, all the goddesses of art, fortune, intelligence, happiness, beauty, potency, bravery, fire, forests, mountains, wind, and auspiciousness are now singing your glories on the bank of the Jamuna River. O Tulsi, you look stunned. Please move now and listen to the words that Govinda has sent for you. He says, O dear Tulsi, you are my very heartbeat. My heart is aching without your glance. Your devotion to me made me roll in the dust and call out to you. I want to accept you as my wife on this very day. Please wake up, wake up. After listening to these words, a deity like Tulasi finally moved and offered her respects to all the assembled Vraja gopis. As soon as she tried to step out from the grove where she had been meditating, the vines in the grove said, O Tulasi, you are our younger sister. Please don't leave us. The flowers said, O Vishva Pujita, Vishva Pujita, you are worshipped by the three worlds, and your presence has made us fragrant. Please do not leave us. The leaves said, O Pavani, you are the purest, and you have made us ever fresh by your austerity. Please don't leave us. The roots said, O Pavitri, you are the finest of all. Your tears have watered us day and night, and we will die if you leave us. After hearing all of them, Tulsi got teary-eyed and replied to them, O my dear companions, I offer you my respects. You are my companions in austerities. I will never leave you. O vines, stay in my arms. O leaves, stay in my hair. O flowers, stay in my hands. O roots, stay on my feet. After absorbing all the forest within herself, Tulsi then started walking towards the mirror palace, where all the gopis then decorated her. Her 108 pleated skirt was decorated with fine gold and precious jeweled embroidery. Her red and green shirt was shining like stars on her chest, and her forehead was decorated with the golden bindi and kunkuma. Her hands were decorated with henna designs and green bangles. Her hair was loose and perfumed with the fumes of a guru, oud. She walked with the sound of her ankle bells, following her every step towards Krishna, holding a vanamala, a forest garland, in her soft red hands. Meanwhile, the gopis were dancing and singing the songs about the meeting of Krishna and Tulsi. The cuckoos were singing melodies of love, while the swans were singing the glories of Krishna and Tulsi finally united. Wearing gold robes and diamond necklaces, the personified form of Shalagram Shila, Krishna, appeared splendid like Cupid, holding a lotus flower in his hand and wearing a special turban called sera, which hides the groom's eyes and doesn't allow the groom to see the bride for a moment. Lord Brahma then descended, and chanting sacred mantras along with 7 rishis, they invoked Agni, and together they worshipped Lord Narayan. Then they manifested 118 types of Shalagram Shilas and showered them with Panchamrita and Ganga Jal from the Kamandalu of Lord Brahma. All the demigods then started offering their gifts to Krishna. As they waved a chamara and showered him with flowers, Krishna, Shalagram Shila personified, arrived on a chauri, and ascended the Vivaha Yagya platform, the marriage platform. Then bringing in a curtain, the gopis placed it between Tulsi and Krishna. Then chanting verses from the Shubha Mangala Savdana, the Shubha Mangala Savdana, all the demigods and gopis started throwing yellow turmeric rice on the groom and the bride. Looking into each other's eyes, they expressed their joy and happiness. And the way their eyes were dancing showed the beauty of rasa. Exchanging garlands, they circumambulated the sacred fire, and then they embraced each other. After showering flowers on them, all the demigods returned to their abodes. Then Sri Radha approached Tulsi and said, "O Tulsi, you are very dear to Lord Govinda. Please always protect the Vrindavan forest and grant devotion to the devotees of our beloved Govinda." Hearing Sri Radha's words, thousands of peacocks started dancing as a performance on that wedding day. Then all the gopis started serving Tulsi, and then they distributed sweets to all the assembled brahmanas. The poet Hita Parmananda Das lights a lamp in the happiness of the Tulsi Shalagram wedding. Hare Krishna. Thanks to that poet. Such a beautiful description of the wedding. Now, in Vrindavan's temples, on the evening of the Tulsi Shalagram Vivaha celebration, the marriage, in all the temples in Vrindavan, pujaris make a mandapa, like a small tent, of 4 poles made out of sugarcane stalks. And on all 4 sides of that small mandapa, they place 4 wooden buckets with puja pa. Puja pa means these buckets include radish, turnip, teti seeds, singada, which is water chest fruit, spinach specifically, and a coin. It's described as an offering to the forest, to Vrindavan forest. In the middle of these 4 sugarcane poles, they make a asmandhana yatra. Asmandhana yatra, it's a specific type of design that invokes or brings forth the demigods, upon which a tulsi plant is placed and decorated. Her pot is then decorated as a bride, and a shalagram shila is placed on her right side. Then a priest chants a sacred mantra, installs the auspicious clay pot, offers a Mangalam Sutra, and then vermilion and other items, which all indicate auspiciousness. And after that, 4 deepakas or lamps are lit on the 4 corners of the mandapa, and then bhoga is offered. And after offering bhoga, all the pandits, the priests, circumambulate the mandapa and distribute prasadam to all the assembled devotees. Then they all sit around and sing bhajans describing this beautiful wedding of Tulsi and Shalagram. This is what happens in Braj, and I believe we also do it in our ISKCON temple. Famous marriage. So we'll finish today with 2 short but very sweet nectarian verses related to Srimati Tulsi Devi. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in his Saranagati, in the Bhakti Anukula section, Tulasi Deki Juraya Prana Madhava Toshani Jani. When I see Srimati Tulsi Devi, my heart is gladdened, and I know that Lord Madhava, the Lord of loving affairs, is also satisfied. Also Lord Chaitanya states in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Antya Khanda 8:156, Prabhu Bhale, it's Mahaprabhu speaking, Ame Tuli Shri na dikeli, Bala nahi vashon, yena macha vinijale. If I don't see Srimati Tulsi Devi, I cannot survive, just as a fish cannot survive out of water. Mahaprabhu. If I don't see Srimati Tulsi Devi, I cannot survive, just as a fish cannot survive out of water. Hare Krishna. So that's all for today. Again, I hope that these lectures about, Srimati Tulsi Devi is increasing your devotion for her, as we can see it's so important. She's so merciful. So important to worship her, to develop our love for Radha and Krishna and Sri Vrindavan Dham. I believe we'll have another lecture about Tulsi Devi next Friday, so stay tuned. Thank you very much. Shri Shri Gauranitai ki, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Shri Radharashama Sundar ki, Vrindavan Ishwari Shrimati Radharani ki, Mayapur Dham ki, Gauranitai ki, Shri Krishna Sankirtan Yagya ki, Nitai Gaur Pimanandi, Jai Jai Sri Sri Radhe Shyam. Glories to Tulsi Devi.